Hello, God bless you. God bless you. My name is Pastor Lawrence, and I want to talk to you about the mystery of the land, that where you are staying. Do you know that apart from you being the land, and as I said, I'm being the ground, but do you know you can be in a ground that has either a ground that can reject, can also resist, can also swallow, and also can stop listening to you? Do you know the ground has four levels of life? One, the ground has the womb. It can swallow and it can also vomit at the same time. A ground has ears to hear. And that ground, when it has a ear to hear, it can hear any type of the voice. That is the first thing that you must understand about the land. And you know, the land can be either, there are two things that are happening, for example. In the land that where you are and where you're staying, it can have two things at the same time or one of the same. One, the land can be polluted and the land can be defiled. You know, many times we just we integrate on the two words that the land can be can the land can be polluted, particularly in this part of Africa. I'm sorry to say this, and it's a reality of life that in Africa the land has been polluted in many ways. Number one, the land has been polluted in this part of Africa because of the shade of sorry, because of the shedding of innocent blood. Looking from everywhere in the entire of Africa, the civil wars, the chaos, people, children, widows, people dying every day. Then when the blood drops at the ground, and then you remember it always corrupt, and I mean it pollutes the land. Remember this in the book of Genesis chapter number 4, the Bible says from verse number 10, and God said to Cain, that Cain, the voice, the blood of your brother has spoken from the ground, not from heaven, from the ground, because the ground has opened up his mouth to receive the blood of your brother. And from that place, the land was polluted. I keep on wondering why in Africa, most of us, minus none of us, everybody want to run out of Africa by all means. Yet from other continents of the world, they want to come to Africa. Some they want to come and see lions. Some they want to come and see monkeys. Some they want to come and see the green vegetation, the best climate we have ever had. When you are out of this Africa, you are in Europe, you are in America, and you are many other nations. I can tell you for free, for those ones who have never traveled there, they will never know the condition of the climate of those places. Sometimes they are very unfriendly, very unfriendly. The times of winter, it's too bad and very bad, and you cannot be able to stay there. In Africa, we have a moderate climate. A moderate climate whereby it accommodates more virtually everybody. But if in the 10 people of Africa, you sample them together and ask them a question, do you want to stay in Africa or you want to run away from Africa? Out of 10, 9 of them, they will tell you that I don't want to stay in Africa. But if you find a young people, if you get the young people from even age 50 down to 1, and you ask them that general question, they will tell you they want to run away from Africa because of one reason. They say there's no opportunities in Africa. They say in Africa there's a bad place to stay. But you can imagine what you can call about the place where we have the moderate climate that is helping us. But the reason why the land is fighting and resisting the African habitation from the same, it is because of the innocent blood that have been shed in this land. Because these are part of the thing that always either pollutes the land or defile the land. Because the Bible says in the book of Leviticus chapter number 18, if you start reading from verses number 25, actually all the way to 28, the Bible talks about the habitats of the land. They have defiled the land, and also they have polluted the land because of their idolatry. You know, you keep on telling about African cultures. I don't know what. Some things in the African culture, some of them, they are the genesis and the problem of the defilement of the land. And I pray may the Lord give us the grace, because simple. When the men from the West, they came to Africa, the first thing they came to Africa is to raise altars of worship. And I pray that every individual kindly Not look at the best of the land, but look at the altars of the place where they worshipped their God. Deuteronomy chapter number 12 from verse number 1, the Bible says, before you settle in that land, the first thing, first of all, you must look at that land is their place of worship. And when they were worshiping the place of worship, which kind of God were they worshiping? Because when the land is defiled within the continent, and even within the area, even where you come from, even where you are born, when the land is defiled, you know what happened? Sorry. When it happened, when the land is defiled by idolatry, the land is defiled by idolatry by inviting some demonic, foreign, satanic gods that are fighting in control of the land, that they take away the control of God. Remember, Abraham, when he came out of his father's house, the first thing he addressed was the altar. And what does the altar mean? A place of their worship. That is why African, we are very lazy in the same. And I thank God. Do you know, people believe that Christianity was brought in Africa, which is not true. If it was brought in Africa, and when Jesus Christ, a Christian, Christ himself stayed in Africa, Moses, the man who was carrying the Ark of the Covenant, he stayed in Africa. He married in Africa, and he became more of an African because he married from Africa, and that was Moses. So Christianity was not brought, but after some times, the African, instead of worshiping a true God of Israel, the true God of heaven, they started introducing them idolatries in Africa and invited demonic altars in Africa, which defiled the land. And when they defiled the land, and then the Bible says from that time, God obviously, he moves out of those places, and they live themselves, and they started fighting themselves alone. That's why in Africa, people are crying. And I pray and I pray and I bleed with our African leaders. May God give you grace, that may African leaders, before you continue demarcating the boundaries, trying to defend your territories, can you pray that the Lord give you grace? Raise altars in Africa. What do we want to talk about Southern Sudan or the entire Sudan? Look at it. A place where they have oil, a place where there are wells of oil, but the poverty in that land. Where do we want to talk about Congo? A place where there's some over minerals and upon minerals in Congo, where they say, I don't know how true it is, but I've never known, but I've read it. They say even the iPhone can never be iPhone until the minerals from Congo are done and brought into those iPhones, and yet we buy them very expensive. And even in any case you go to Congo, you can never find a Congolese. I mean, out of 100 Congolese or 1,000 Congolese, the probability to find 200 Congolese having iPhone is very low. Why? Because of them idolatries in that land, shed of innocent blood, civil wars, people fighting, and they're making the land become defiled. I pray that the Lord give you grace and release this African part of it. And the Lord bless you. Shalom. My name is Pastor Lawrence. Shalom, shalom.